Hello everyone, my name is Jason, aka Bacon Chest, coach of the Kilda Serperiors. Welcome to Game 1 of the GBA Fan Draft League. This is going to be our first pool game against Card Captor and the Tomoeda Cherrims. Just to briefly go through Card Captor's team, they have Mew, Zapdos, Manaphy, Mamoswine, Togekiss, Arcanine, Shaman, and Mega Aggron, with Mew and Manaphy as the Z users. So first I'm going to go through the team that I built, and then we're going to get into the battle. So, thinking about that team, what you notice is that you've got Mew, Zapdos, Manaphy, and Shaman all hitting that base 100 speed tier. Mamoswine base 80, Togekiss base 85, I believe, and Arcanine base 95, with Aggron obviously being base 40 or something like that, but very, very slow. So we see is that there's nothing above base 100. And even setup wise, only really Manaphy with maybe a Z Rain Dance is really getting above that speed tier. So that was something that we were sort of bringing into consideration. Was I was kind of expecting a Scarfer to be run, just because otherwise I could potentially outspeed, and after a Swords Dance from Weavile or a Nasty Plot from Thundurus, I could just run through a team like this. Just drink some water. So yeah, I was kind of expecting Scarf, either Togekiss, or maybe even something more esoteric, like a Scarf Zapdos, a Scarf Mew. Scarf Mamoswine was also something that I was really heavily considering, because that could put in potentially a lot of work on this team. So let's go into the team that we brought and why. I decided to bring Expert Belt Weavile, because Icicle Crash plus knockoff hits a lot of this team. Low Kick does about 40 to 44% to a standard max HP Aggron, which obviously, if we can get a couple of rock switch-ins, could potentially take it down. The speed lets us outspeed all those base 100s, which lets us run Adamant, which is super, super handy, which does allow us to do that extra damage to Aggron. It also allows us to, put in huge amounts of work against Shaman, Zapdos, and, Mew as well. Low Kick obviously also, I believe, KOs standard Mamoswine from full, which is great, because it means that this thing can really effectively check Mamoswine, it can put hurt on Aggron, and it otherwise just, destroys most of the rest of the team. Arcanine, and Intimidate Arcanine can, maybe switch in once or twice, but not going to really be a consistent switch in after I get a couple of knockoffs off. So, next up we have Thundurus. This is a Nasty Plot, Thunderbolt, Sludge Bomb, U-turn set, again with an Expert Belt. Again, the speed tier is to outspeed all those base 100s. Unfortunately, this time we do have to run a Timid set to achieve that, but that's okay. It does let us run a little bit of defense. I believe this was to live an Ice Shard from a standard Mamoswine after rocks, maybe? Not 100% sure. This game was a little while ago now, a bit over a week. I actually have, this is the second time I've recorded this battle. The first time, unfortunately, we had a power outage here in Melbourne, and I lost my recording. But yeah, I believe it was to live a standard sort of jolly Life Orb Ice Shard after rocks. And yeah. Sludge Bomb obviously lets us hit the Shaman really hard after a Nasty Plot. That thing's just going bye-bye. We don't have Focus Blast for the Mega Aggron, mostly because plus 2 Thunderbolt already does 65 to 70%, I believe, and I didn't really want to rely on the Focus Blast with that 70% accuracy for something that I felt was probably my most likely win condition. So yeah. Then we've got Mega Gardevoir, and this thing we did decide to run Focus Blast on, mostly because, obviously, our main stab move doesn't do anything to a Mega Aggron. And then we've got Sub-Toxic. This allows us to hit things like the Arcanine, like the Zapdos, like the Mew, and, yeah, Sub, because we potentially force some switches, and, can potentially then put in work and not get statused by things like a defensive Mew or a defensive Zapdos. And we have a really weird looking set. here where the speed is to outspeed a Jolly Mamoswine, and the HP plus the calm nature. To be honest, I have no idea what this was to live. It may have been something to do with like +3 Manaphy. I definitely was very worried about Tail Gully Manaphy going into this game. So I'm assuming it was to live a hit from, like, live a surf from like a +3 Manaphy. Would be my only real guess there, but yeah, that's some pretty wild looking EV spread plus nature. So if anyone can tell me what that was for exactly, then like good job to you. We've then got a physically defensive Skarmory. This is our dedicated response to Mega Aggron and to, more importantly, Mamoswine. This thing switches into Mamoswine for days. It just can't really do anything to take me on. We can get up rocks, we can toxic things, we can Whirlwind, which stops something like Manaphy from setting up on us, or, you know, like a Nasty Plot Mew, or a Nasty Plot Togekiss, which was something that I was potentially expecting, because Nasty Plot Fire Blast would potentially get past us. And then, yeah, Toxic, obviously, to hit things like the Shaman, or not necessarily the Shaman, because that's got Natural Cure, but to hit things like the Mew, to hit things like the Zapdos on the switching, because obviously those are kind of fairly obvious switch-ins. To a Skarmory. And Stealth Rock's being fairly important in this game, to chip away at the Zapdos, to chip away at the Arcanine, to chip away at the Togekiss, those three in particular, to let our, you know, powerful offensive mons potentially sweep at the end of the game. We then have a Choice Scarf Landorus T with Earthquake, U-Turn, Stone Edge, Explosion. Explosion because we just really didn't need any other coverage, and it potentially allowed us to pick up a very safe kill, you know, on something like a Shaman in the late game. Where, you know, otherwise that thing might be able to get off a Healing Wish, to get back a Mew or a Zapdos or a Manaphy, something like that. So, but yeah, otherwise we anticipated if the Zapdos was there, or the Togekiss was there, then Stone Edge, destroys them, U-Turn for momentum, and Earthquake because it, you know, puts in a lot of work on Manaphy, Mew, Arcanine, and Mamoswine. And obviously, yeah, can also do a fair bit to Mega Aggron. Again, I think it does around that 40 to 44 range, meaning that between this and Weavile, we can really put a lot of pressure on that thing. Last but not least is we have our Tentacruel. This is our dedicated Manaphy check. With this set, we tank a +3 Psychic after rocks, and are able to get off a Haze and stop that thing from, being able to set up all over us. Rapid Spin to get rid of hazards. I was going to run Assault Vest, but I really did want Rapid Spin because I really did want hazard removal in this game, because obviously Weavile and Thundurus don't really want to be worn down. And then Scald and Sludge Bomb hits most of my opponent's team. You know, we can hit the Togekiss, we can hit the Arcanine, we can hit the Shaman, and then nothing else really appreciates Scald and Sludge Bomb combined. Obviously, like a Rest Hydration Manaphy could potentially be an issue, like a Rain Dance, like a Rain Dance Hydration set. But, you know, like we have things that could put offensive pressure onto Manaphy. So, let's get into the game. What we see is that Card Captor brings Manaphy, Mew, Arcanine, Mega Aggron, Zapdos, and Mamoswine. So I'm expecting setup Manaphy. I'm expecting bulky Arcanine, bulky Zapdos, probably a Scarf Mamoswine, or a Scarf Mew, but maybe like a setup Mew, and then like a bulky offensive Mega Aggron. So I lead off with Landorus because it's a fairly obvious lead, and I'm just going to go straight for the U-turn, because he doesn't know, he's probably going to switch out, because he doesn't know yet if I'm, for example, I could be like Choice Banded Stone Edge, and that's going to just destroy any Zapdos, like particularly if they're not running enough speed to take me on. So I just click U-turn as he goes out to Manaphy, and then we're just going to click U-turn again, because obviously Manaphy's not going to stay in on a Thundurus. Potentially, I could have actually clicked Nasty Plot there, and just tried to put a lot of pressure on this team really early. I think that might have actually been a better play. just because I think looking at this team, it's a really fat team, you know, with, like, I mean, literal thick fat with the Mamoswine, but, Arcanine, Zapdos, Mew, Manaphy, Mega Aggron, they're all really, really bulky mons. So I probably did need to try and be a bit more aggressive and set up early to try and break through a few of these, like, because all of these mons kind of collectively check my team really well. But we go for the U-turn. He brings in the Arcanine onto the Thundurus, which puts alarm bells in my head, especially when I bring out the Landorus. I don't see leftovers, so that makes me think that he's probably Assault Vest. I click this Stone Edge here because the switch back into Zapdos is really, really obvious, and also, obviously, it still hits Arcanine super effectively. We unfortunately miss that, and that's really, really shit, because we've had pretty good momentum so far in the battle, you know, just clicking U-turn, getting an idea of what my opponent's sets are, and that would have 2-hit KO'd the Zapdos, which would have meant that he would have had to switch out into, you know, the Aggron or the Mew or something like that, and, like, obviously I have reasonable, responses to those, whereas I don't necessarily have a good Zapdos switch-in, right? Like, if you look at my team, I don't have particularly good electric switch-ins. So I just decide to go out into Gardevoir as he makes an excellent double into Aggron, realizing that probably my best switch-in for a Zapdos is probably Mega Gardevoir. So he goes into the Aggron, and I can't do anything to that, so I'm just going to go straight out to Skarmory. As he takes the opportunity to get up his rocks, I'm going to take the opportunity to get up my rocks as he goes out into Zapdos. And yeah, again, that's probably somewhere where I may have needed to be a bit more aggressive. Maybe gone for a double, maybe gone for, like, something just to try and put a bit of work onto this Zapdos. I'm forced to switch out. I go into Gardevoir as he just clicks Discharge, gets the Para. That's quite annoying, especially with my Synchrovize obviously not doing anything. Goes for another Discharge as I set up a sub. I was kind of expecting the Aggron, because I kind of expected that he wouldn't want to let his Zapdos be chipped. And Hyper Voice does put in a lot of chip on this thing, like, you know, it's doing like 40 to 50% depending on the, like 40 to 60 I think depending on the set. But yeah, he decides to stay in. I click sub, that's fine, because, you know, I'll still get off this chip damage that I need, and he does have to attack here, because obviously otherwise I'm there behind a sub. So he goes for the Discharge, gets a crit. I actually, yeah, one thing to note here is that I did forget to Mega Evolve. You actually do have to Mega Evolve on the first turn in this league. Obviously it makes no difference. The only time it could have made a difference is here, where he crits the substitute, where if I'd been Mega'd, that probably doesn't break the substitute, because he was only doing 28% to unevolved. A regular Gardevoir. But he crit anyway, so it just did not matter at all. But you do see that I get parried. Obviously my Hyper Voice wouldn't have done as much, because I hadn't Mega Evolved, but if I had, and if I hadn't have gotten paralyzed there, that would have been really, really clutch, because then, once again, this Zapdos just seems to be leading a really charmed life. I would have gotten, you know, that 50-60% off. As he just goes for HP Ice, I assume, gets rid of that. I go Weavile. Here, I'm kind of in the back a bit, and again, probably should have been a bit more aggressive in my predictions. Goes out to the Aggron, as I just go for an Icicle Crash. I was kind of thinking, no, I can't afford for him to just stay in with the Zapdos on my knockoff or my low kick, and just destroy me with a Discharge or destroy me with a Heat Wave. But, yeah, no, realistically, I absolutely should have clicked low kick there, because now this Aggron's still at huge HP. He doubles into the Zapdos, and I'm just getting, like, absolutely outplayed here. As I go out to Skarmory, I'm going to go out to my Tentacruel, because whilst I've built it to take on Manaphy, it can tank hits from what I've now established is a fairly defensive Zapdos. I take a HP Ice obviously really, really well. He was maybe expecting the Landorus to come in. He goes to the HP Ice again, probably expecting the Landorus to come in, as I'm just going to go for a Rapid Spin there. Just to, you know, get those rocks away, as he actually goes to the default the next turn, gets my rocks away, as I go for a Sludge Bomb and get a Poison, and I'm thinking, okay, now we've got a bit of an opening, because now the Zapdos is going to get worn down. That's pretty good, particularly if we can get rocks back up with Skarmory. This thing's going to be coming in at 50, then it dies to a Stone Edge, particularly after Poison. And I'm thinking, alright, we've got this game back, sort of, maybe on label picking. I would have liked to have still had my Gardevoir around, but that's okay. Goes out to the Manaphy, and I'm thinking, okay, well, this is my opportunity. I'm kind of expecting him to set up, so that's fine. I know that we live a +3 hit, and we can go, so yeah, I know that we live in a hit, but also I want to be a bit more aggressive here, so I'll go out to Thundurus, kind of expecting him to try and set up on me. Goes for the Heal Bell, and I just was not expecting this at all. Just really well prepped here from Card Captor. Heal Bell, bulky Heal Bell Manaphy, able to get rid of the burn, get rid of the poison, and now, like, I've basically achieved nothing, right? Like, we're like 17 turns into this game, and I've chipped away a bit at Zapdos, Manaphy, and Aggron, and Arcanine. But, like, I haven't done more than 50% to any of those, and I've lost my Mega Gardevoir. I've, taken a little bit of chip on Tentacruel, I've taken a bit of chip on, Skarmory, and yeah, I just have no real way of breaking through this team. So this is super bulky team. I just click U-turn there. Need to get rid of that thing. We're just going to bring in the Landorus. I think here I went for the Stone Edge as he brings out the Manaphy, which, again, good mid-ground play there. The Manaphy's not all that helpful now that I know what the set is. Because obviously it's not going to do a huge amount of damage to anything. As I just go Thundurus as he U-turns out into Mew, and I looked at this Mew and thought, okay, so he's probably going to take, like, it doesn't kill me with an Ice Beam from a, like, timid max special attack set, so I can potentially set up here and then a +2, destroy him with, like, a Dark, well, I didn't have Dark Pulse, but, like, theoretically you should fear the Dark Pulse, right? As I click Nasty Ball and just get bopped by a Life Orb, timid Life Orb Ice Beam, and I'm thinking, oh no. So that was, yeah, probably me being a bit too timid in the early game, excusing the pun, and then maybe a bit too aggressive in that moment, where realistically I probably had to scope out what this Mew was. Like, we've gone out to Tentacruel. Tentacruel wasn't really doing all that much for me at this point, aside from, like, living a hit from Zapdos, and, like, potentially, like, seeing what this Mew was. It probably wasn't going to go for a Psychic move there, given the threat of, like, Weavile coming out. It's probably going to be carrying at least Ice and Fire coverage, so it may not even have a Psychic move. And so, yeah, like, I just didn't think, and so it costs us our Thundurus, and then I continue to not think, and to be honest, I forgot that Mew had Vacuum Wave. It's not something you see very often, and I just hadn't looked deeply enough into Mew's moveset. Lesson learned, we're never going to underestimate a Mew again. This thing just wrecks my team, and yeah, so I'm forced to bring out Skarmory, and I just click Rocks, and let Skarmory go down, so Mew's now picked up 3 kills. I bring out Landorus, and decide to U-turn, I believe. Yeah, I click U-turn just to go out to Tentacruel, and now I'm playing for differential. He stays in and clicks Flamethrower, which is great. That's great news for me, because now we can kill this Arcanine. As he actually then goes for a HP Ice, which he could have saved that thing, and I would have potentially lost like 6-0, but lets that go down, so we've got 1 kill. Now I'm thinking, okay, my best way of killing this Zapdos is to try and get a Sludge Bomb poison. And I get a crit, but I don't get the poison, which is really annoying, because now this thing can just click Roost, and I'm just clicking Sludge Bomb, hoping to get poisons. This is just, like, this game's pretty much over. Certainly I can't win at this point. I'm just trying to pick up a couple of kills, as, yeah, he clicks Discharge, does about 45, so that's fine. And you see him click Discharge one more time, gets a crit, which doesn't make any difference. I wasn't really living a hit after, like, without the crit anyway. I decided to go to Landorus here, to try and get a Stone Edge crit, because I knew that there was no way he's clicking HP Ice there. There was no reason for him to make those kind of bold predictions there. As we go Stone Edge on the Manaphy, and now I can click Stone Edge again, trying to get a crit, which is what I was trying to do anyway. We actually do get the crit, so we're able to get rid of the Manaphy, which is super nice. I go out to Tentacruel on the Mega Aggron. I'm thinking, okay, he clicks Avalanche, and I'm like, okay, cool. maybe after an Intimidate drop, if we can live an Avalanche, we probably 2-hit KO here with Earthquake. We would have 2-hit KO with Earthquake, but as you can see, Avalanche don't care. Avalanche does not care. I mean, 480 base power once you take into account the fact that it's moving second, and it's got that 4x super effectiveness. Probably, yeah, there's probably not a Landorus. That probably killed like several Landoruses. That killed Landorus's entire family tree. So that's a good game to Card Captor. We take a really heavy 4-0 loss, which in this league, where differential can be really crucial, is quite unfortunate. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to bounce back in our next 3 games. If we can pick up 3 wins, we can hopefully make it so the differential doesn't matter, and we just like get through on 3 wins and 1 loss. So until next time, peace.